Last year, you watched me die heroically on every planet in our solar system for the sake of science. Now, we are cranking up the stakes to send me to the most explosive places in the entire universe. We are targeting supernovas, black holes, and galactic clusters reaching temperatures of 160 million Kelvin. That is a lot of Kelvin, and I'm not talking about the guy who makes sandwiches. Despite my need to renegotiate my contract, I'm ready to show you the end of times. Our journey begins with something familiar yet terrifying, our very own sun. Most people only see the sun from a safe distance of 150 million kilometers away. Even at that distance, staring at it for more than a second requires protective cardboard glasses. But today, we are going closer than any human technology has ever dared to venture. In 2024, the Parker Solar Probe dipped into the sun's corona just 6.1 million kilometers above the surface. From this vantage point, the sun reveals itself as a G-type main sequence star, a literal galactic inferno. It spans over 1.4 million kilometers across, filling your entire range of vision with stellar plasma. That sounds terrifying, and honestly, there's no simple way to just zip down there. The corona is actually hotter than the surface, reaching a mind-boggling 2 million degrees Celsius. Why? The atmosphere is hotter than the star itself remains one of the greatest mysteries of our solar system. Radiation and solar winds would fry any conventional ship long before it reached the ground. You would have to navigate the physics perfectly, or you would be trapped in orbit forever. Furthermore, the sun does not actually have a solid surface to land on. The closest thing is the photosphere, which is essentially a soup of boiling plasma and lava. So, we will just have to teleport me directly to the surface for a quick 5-second survival challenge. I doubt you will even last 5 seconds, so we will have to observe this in slow motion. The surface temperature is about 5,500 degrees Celsius, which is still incredibly lethal. The instant you arrive, the light is so intense that you would be immediately blinded. You would immediately feel the sun's immense gravity straining your muscles and skeleton. Solar gravity is 28 times stronger than Earth's, making your own body feel like lead. Your spacesuit would offer protection, but only for a few fleeting milliseconds. Within 0.1 milliseconds, the suit's plastic components would begin to char and warp. Your visor would melt away, exposing your face to the direct heat of a star. Then, your skin would start to melt as the temperature exceeds what any organic matter can endure. It is hot enough on the surface of the sun to boil diamonds into a gas. After half a millisecond, boiling plasma hits your body like a physical shockwave. It happens so fast that your brain wouldn't even have the chance to process the pain. Your organs would fail and your body would cook before you could register a single thought. Within 10 milliseconds, your flesh, bones, and hair are converted into gas and plasma. In what seems like a single flash of light, you are gone, incinerated into the solar mass. You have become one with the sun, a part of its eternal nuclear furnace. Now that is metal, and I'm literally talking about the iron now fused in my body. Maybe I should have just said, it was a heavy experience. But if you think the sun is heavy, you haven't seen what a black hole can do. We are heading toward the nearest void in space to witness a different kind of ending. We leave the cold void behind and turn our sensors toward the most familiar monster in our neighborhood. The sun looms ahead, no longer a friendly light, but a colossal engine of nuclear destruction. Even from millions of kilometers away, The sheer scale of this G-type main sequence star is paralyzing. At 93 million miles away, it provides life, but up close, it is a galactic inferno. We are now crossing the threshold where human technology usually meets its breaking point. We enter the corona, an ethereal halo of plasma that defies the laws of common sense. Here, the temperature inexplicably skyrockets to an impossible 2 million degrees Celsius. Scientists still struggle to unlock the secret of why the corona is hotter than the surface below. The solar wind howls against our shields like a physical storm of charged particles. Every system in our vessel begins to scream as radiation levels reach lethal peaks. There is no solid ground to find here, only a boiling ocean of plasma called the photosphere. Falling toward it would be like trying to land on a soup of liquid fire. Gravity here is 28 times stronger than what you feel on Earth. Your very skeleton would groan under the weight of your own body. We are descending further where the light is so intense it would vaporize your retinas instantly. Our ship's AI must drop the video levels just so we can see the chaos unfolding. Massive arcs of magnetic energy, thousands of miles high, erupt around us. This is the furnace that forged the very atoms in your blood. But the Creator is also the ultimate destroyer. The heat begins to penetrate the multi-layered thermal tiles of our hull. Inside the cabin, the air begins to shimmer with the first signs of structural failure. We are now closer than any human has ever dared to dream. Beneath us, sunspots the size of entire planets swirl in a magnetic dance. The sound, if space could carry it, would be a deafening roar of 1 billion nuclear bombs. Our trajectory is now locked. There is no turning back from the solar pole. The suit's cooling system hums at a frantic, dying pitch. We prepare to witness the final transition from solid matter to ionized gas. Every element of the periodic table is tested in this cosmic crucible. The outer viewport begins to bubble, the specialized quartz turning to liquid. We are millimeters away from the absolute end of our physical form.
Why did we choose to look so closely at the face of a god?
The magnetic fields are so strong, they begin to pull at the very iron in our blood. Gravity is no longer a force. It is a crushing, physical weight that stops the heart. We have reached the point where mathematics fails and only the fire remains. The horizon is gone, replaced by a wall of 5,000-degree plasma. Warning alarms melt away into a single terrifying tone of finality. In these final moments, we are no longer observers but part of the star itself. Your journey as a solid object is officially coming to an end. We prepare for the transition into pure energy, a millisecond away from the total heat. But as we vanish into the fire, a much darker shadow begins to stretch across our path. The sun's heat is nothing compared to the crushing silence of what waits in the dark. The transition from the ship's interior to the sun's surface happens in a heartbeat. At the first millisecond, the overwhelming brilliance of 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit strikes your retinas. Your vision instantly dissolves into a pure, agonizing white void. Gravity, 28 times stronger than Earth's, immediately seizes your skeleton. Your internal organs shift violently under the sudden crushing weight of your own mass. At 0.1 milliseconds, the specialized plastic of your suit begins to char and blacken. The polycarbonate visor starts to warp, bubbling like boiling sugar. Your skin begins to liquefy even before the suit's outer layer has fully disintegrated. This environment is hot enough to boil solid diamonds into a vapor. At half a millisecond, the integrity of your life support system vanishes completely. A shock wave of boiling plasma strikes your exposed chest like a physical hammer. The speed of the heat transfer is faster than your nerves can send a signal to your brain. You are technically dead from total organ failure before the word hot can form in your mind. By 10 milliseconds, your flesh, hair, and muscles have turned into a superheated gas. Your bones, the last structural remnants, crumble into a fine atomic dust. Everything that made you human is now part of the sun's convective cycle. You have become one with the star, a tiny speck of carbon in an ocean of helium. While you vaporized in an instant, the universe barely noticed the flicker of your passing. The sun continues to churn, fueled by the same hydrogen that once lived in your cells. But the sun's fire is predictable compared to the gravity of a fallen star. We are shifting our focus from the heat of the light to the hunger of the dark. Meet Gaia BH1, a dormant monster lurking 1,500 light-years away. This is a stellar mass black hole, the grave of a giant star that ran out of fuel. Your ship is now entering the vicinity of the most dangerous well in existence. The proximity sensors scream as the accretion disk begins to glow with friction. The black hole has 10 times the mass of our sun packed into a tiny, invisible point. It shares its orbit with a star much like our own, slowly stripping it of its essence. You feel a tug that is different from the sun's heavy, even pressure. This is the tidal force, where gravity at your feet is vastly stronger than at your head. The ship's hull begins to groan as it is stretched like a piece of taffy. You realize that once you cross a specific line, there is no return possible. The Schwarzschild radius is the point where the escape velocity exceeds the speed of light. Even light, the fastest thing in the universe, is a prisoner here. The ship's engines roar at full power, but you are moving backward into the abyss. This is not just a death. It is the total erasure of your path through time. Your body is about to undergo a process known as spaghettification. Your spine will crack in a dozen places as your legs are pulled toward the singularity. To an outside observer, you will seem to freeze at the edge of the hole forever. But you will feel every second of the fall as time dilates and the universe speeds up around you. The sun's heat is nothing compared to the crushing silence of what waits in the dark. The sun's heat is nothing compared to the crushing silence of what waits in the dark. We leave the searing light behind to face a predator that consumes light itself. You are now drifting into the gravitational influence of Gaia BH1, the closest known black hole to our home.
Located 1,500 light-years away, this invisible titan acts as a silent tombstone for a long-dead star.
Gaia BH1 is a stellar mass black hole, meaning it formed from the collapse of a single massive giant. Unlike the supermassive giants at galactic centers, these smaller monsters are harder to detect until you are already caught. Sagittarius A star, the heart of our galaxy, is millions of times more massive than this particular abyss. However, size does not equate to mercy when you're within its reach.
Gaia BH1 actually shares its orbit with a star, very similar to our own sun.
This companion star is being slowly drained, its lifeblood pulled into the black hole's unseen mouth. As you approach, you notice the accretion disk, a swirling graveyard of gas and dust. The matter here is rubbing together so fast that it reaches millions of degrees. Warning lights on your ship begin to scream as the ship's hull begins to vibrate from the sheer tidal forces. This black hole has a mass 10 times that of the Sun compressed into a tiny volume. Its gravity is so sharp that the difference in pull between your head and your feet is already measurable. You're nearing the Schwarzschild radius, the mathematical boundary of no return. Beyond this point, the escape velocity required to leave exceeds the speed of light. Your ship's engines roar at maximum power, but the vessel doesn't move away. It only sinks faster. The vacuum of space here is filled with the ghosts of everything that fell before you. Because it is a stellar mass black hole, the tidal forces are actually more lethal than those of a supermassive one. In a larger black hole, you might survive the crossing. Here, you will be shredded before you even touch the horizon. The physics of this place stop being theoretical and start being physical agony. Every molecule in your body is now engaged in a tug-of-war with a singularity. The surrounding stars begin to cluster into a bright ring above you as light is bent into your path. Below you, there is only the absolute, terrifying nothingness of the shadow. You're now entering the realm where space and time swap roles. There is no direction anymore except inward. Even your screams cannot leave this place, as sound and light are both trapped in the descent. To an observer far away, you would appear to slow down and freeze at the edge forever. This is due to extreme time dilation, where gravity warps the very fabric of the seconds you live. But in your reality, you're falling at near the speed of light. The ship around you is being crushed into a single flat sheet of metal. The gravitational gradient is now so steep that the cells in your body are being pulled apart from each other. You are no longer a person, but a stream of atoms being funneled toward a single point. Gaia BH1 is a ruthless architect, redesigning your biology into a long, thin noodle of matter. Every bone in your body snaps simultaneously as the vertical stretch overcomes the strength of calcium. The event horizon is now behind you, a closed door to the rest of the universe. You're falling toward the singularity, the place where the laws of physics simply stop making sense. The mass of 10 suns is waiting for you in a space smaller than an atom. As your consciousness fades into the final stretch, a new, even denser horror begins to emerge from the cosmic fog. The darkness of Gaia BH1 begins to warp the very stars around you into long, weeping streaks of light. You feel a sudden, violent tug on your feet that your suit's thrusters cannot counter. The difference in gravitational pull between your head and your toes is already becoming lethal. This is the onset of spaghettification, where tidal forces become stronger than the chemical bonds holding your body together. You hear the sickening sound of your own tibia snapping as the gravity stretches your legs like taffy. Every joint in your body begins to dislocate simultaneously as the vertical pull intensifies. You try to scream, but your lungs are being squeezed horizontally as if by a giant invisible vice. As you fall faster, you look back at the universe and notice the stars are moving in fast forward. Time dilation is taking hold, separating your reality from the rest of existence. To an observer on a distant ship, you would appear to slow down and eventually freeze at the horizon. But for you, there is no stopping, only the relentless descent into the singularity. Your spine becomes a meter long, the vertebrae separating with a series of wet thuds. The very atoms of your DNA are now being pulled into individual strands. You have become a thin stream of matter, several kilometers in length. Your physical identity is erased as you are reduced to basic subatomic particles. There is no pain anymore, only the cold logic of physics dismantling a human life. Suddenly, the gravity shifts as you are compressed into a space smaller than a grain of sand. For a moment, you are everything and nothing at the same time. The universe you knew is gone, replaced by the crushing reality of Gaia BH1. But even this gravitational tomb isn't the most dense object you'll face.
Your consciousness flickers, somehow surviving the transition into a new cosmic nightmare.
You find yourself reformulating near a sphere so bright it makes the sun look like a candle. This is RxJ 185635, a neutron star that defies every law of human biology. The magnetic fields here are so strong, they will literally pull the iron from your blood. You feel a new kind of pressure, one that threatens to collapse your atoms into a solid block. Here, a single teaspoon of matter weighs as much as an entire mountain range. Your ship's hull begins to groan as if it's being stepped on by a god. The radiation alarm in your helmet is a single, constant scream of warning. Gamma rays are already shredding your nervous system before you can even blink. You reach for the controls, but your fingers have already lost all feeling. The surface of the star is a smooth, terrifying crust of pure neutrons. It is 10 billion times stronger than steel and far more unforgiving. Your body is pulled toward it at a fraction of the speed of light. Impact here doesn't just kill you, it incorporates you into the star's mass. You are no longer Chase, you are just a thin layer of neutrons added to a dead sun. The cycle of cosmic destruction seems endless and increasingly violent. But a new sound begins to vibrate through the void, a rumble of colliding worlds. Far ahead, a massive structure known as El Gordo awaits your arrival. This is not just a star or a black hole, but an entire graveyard of galaxies. As you drift toward the 160 million Kelvin furnace, you realize the heat hasn't even begun to peak. The searing heat of the previous furnace fades as a new, more compact terror emerges from the dark. Before you lies RxJ 185635-3754, the closest neutron star to our home planet. Despite being only 20 kilometers wide, this tiny sphere contains the mass of an entire sun. You watch as a single teaspoon of its material would weigh over 1 billion tons on Earth. This is one of the densest and most dangerous objects ever discovered by human science. Its composition is a nightmare of physics where atoms are crushed into a sea of pure neutrons. As your ship drifts closer, the warning lights on your console begin to strobe frantically. The magnetic field of the neutron star is already reaching out to seize your vessel. Your electronics short out instantly as the pulverizing strength of the magnetism overwhelms your shields. Within milliseconds, a barrage of X-rays and gamma rays pierces through the hull of your ship. These rays don't just burn you, they begin to dismantle your body at a cellular level. You feel an unnatural heat rising from within your own bone marrow. At 1/10 of a second, the sheer intensity of the radiation begins to boil your blood. Your skin starts to blister and char despite the insulation of your high-tech suit. Then the gravity takes hold, far more vicious than anything you felt at the black hole. Spaghettification begins again, but here, the density of the star makes the process feel instantaneous. Your ship and your body are stretched to their absolute breaking point in a sickening display. Every cell and every atom in your body is elongated into miles of microscopic thread. You were a person moments ago, but now you're merely miles of silly string vanishing into the surface. The surface of the star is 10 billion times stronger than steel, crushing your remains into nothingness. Your consciousness flickers out as you become one with the most dense material in existence. You gasp for air as the simulation resets, your nerves still screaming from the phantom pressure. You tell the computer that you've had enough of being linguinified for one day. You ask Peter if there's any place in the universe that doesn't involve your skeletal structure becoming pasta. His voice crackles over the comms, promising a destination that is absolutely petrifying. You watch as the navigational coordinates shift to a sector billions of light years away. The name of the destination appears on the screen, El Gordo. You laugh, thinking it sounds more like a wrestler or a sandwich maker than a cosmic threat. You joke that El Gordo probably sews the tights for retired luchadors in his spare time. But Peter doesn't laugh, reminding you that El Gordo is a cosmic furnace born from a titanic collision. It is not just one galaxy, but thousands of them smashing together in an intergalactic demolition derby. The ship drops out of warp, and the view outside is filled with a terrifying hazy light. Suddenly, the radiation alarm begins to wail with a pitch you've never heard before. The computer reports an ambient temperature of 160 million Kelvin. You realize that this environment is hotter than the core of most stars. A local shock front traveling at thousands of kilometers per second slams into your vessel. The hull shatters like glass, and you are thrown clear into the superheated gas of the cluster. Your suit, designed for the cold, begins to melt from the outside in. You are about to become a vaporized smear across a billion light years of space. As the light consumes you, a massive dark shape begins to eclipse the fire of El Gordo. The dark shape, eclipsing the neutron star, reveals itself to be the leading edge of a gargantuan cosmic wrecking ball. You are entering El Gordo, the largest known galaxy cluster in the distant universe. This isn't just a place, it is an active, multi-billion-year collision between two massive clusters of galaxies. As you drift into the center, the surrounding space begins to glow with a haunting, ethereal blue light. You're now floating within the intra-cluster medium, a sea of gas so hot it emits high-energy X-rays. The temperature here has reached a staggering 160 million degrees Kelvin. Your suit's external sensors fail immediately as the electronics melt into liquid silicon. The multi-layered thermal insulation of your EVA suit offers no protection against such a hellish environment. Within microseconds, the gold-tinted polycarbonate of your visor bubbles and then evaporates. Your eyes are the first to go, the fluid within them turning to steam before you can even blink. At 160 million Kelvin, the kinetic energy of the particles is so high that they bypass chemical reactions entirely. Your flesh does not burn in the traditional sense. It simply ceases to be a solid. The carbon and calcium in your bones are stripped of their electrons, turning your skeleton into plasma. Your entire body is converted into a localized cloud of ionized gas in less time than a heart beats. This plasma cloud is then swept up by the shockwaves of the colliding galaxy clusters. You are now part of the 160 million degree wind that blows between the stars of El Gordo. But the collision of clusters is not the fastest way the universe can tear you apart. Deep within one of these colliding galaxies, a star is nearing its final violent breath. The core of this star has run out of fuel, and gravity is beginning its final crushing victory. This is the birth of a supernova, an explosion so bright it can outshine its entire host galaxy. You find yourself reconstituted, a witness to the most energetic event since the Big Bang. The star's iron core collapses in a fraction of a second, rebounding with a shockwave that shreds everything in its path. Neutrinos, usually ghostly and harmless, become so dense they push against the stellar matter like a solid wall. This neutrino wind is the first thing to hit you, passing through your atoms like a gale through a wire fence. Next comes the light, a flash of gamma rays so intense it would sterilize a solar system. These gamma rays carry enough energy to knock electrons clean off their nuclei. Your DNA is not just damaged, it is completely unzipped and scattered into a billion pieces. The heat of the supernova front reaches you, moving at 10% the speed of light. You are struck by a wall of heavy elements, gold, silver, and uranium, forged in the heart of the blast. These newborn atoms collide with your own, turning you into a temporary nuclear reactor. The sheer pressure of the explosion flattens your body into a two-dimensional sheet of atoms. You are no longer human. You are a collection of subatomic particles being accelerated across the cosmos. This is the fate of all matter that dares to stay too close to a dying giant. Yet even this total annihilation is predictable compared to the anomalies of the deep void. In the distance, a flicker of light reveals something that should not exist. It is a wandering black hole, a rogue predator disconnected from any galaxy. Unlike the clusters or the stars, this object does not emit heat or light, it only takes. As you're drawn in, the very fabric of space-time begins to scream under the strain. The light from the supernova you just escaped is now being bent into a halo around your new tomb. As the darkness swallows the last of the cluster's blue glow, you realize the true horror isn't the heat, it's the silence. The cold silence of the intergalactic void suddenly feels heavy with anticipation. You feel a strange sensation crawling up your spine as if the universe itself is holding its breath. Suddenly, the coordinates shift as you're propelled 3.5 billion years into the past. You arrive just in time to witness the most violent event in cosmic history. This is SN206 APS, a supernova that defies the standard laws of stellar death. Two massive stars have merged into one unstable titan, preparing for a megaboom. You're floating far too close to the epicenter of this impending catastrophe. The explosion will be 100 billion times brighter than our sun. For a brief moment, this single point of light will outshine the entire Milky Way galaxy. The final collapse begins as the core can no longer support its own weight. Then, the universe screams in light as the supernova detonates. 1 millisecond after detonation, a torrent of invisible neutrinos floods through your body. These subatomic particles are so dense, they begin to heat your cells from the inside out. Every single cell in your body ruptures simultaneously under the sheer volume of radiation. At 5 milliseconds, the physical shockwave reaches your position. Traveling at thousands of kilometers per second, the plasma wall shreds your armor like paper. Your nervous system is destroyed so quickly that the sensation of pain cannot even travel to your brain. By 10 milliseconds, your physical form has ceased to exist in any recognizable way. Your atoms are carried away, scattered across the cosmos in a scorching ball of plasma. You have become part of the very stardust that will one day form new worlds. This journey through the most terrifying ends has reached its final destination. We have seen the fire of the sun, the crush of black holes, and the fury of colliding clusters. In the grand scale of the universe, our lives are but a fleeting spark. But in understanding these deaths, we truly appreciate the miracle of our survival on Earth. The experiment is over, and the contract for these deadly missions has finally expired. Perhaps next time we should choose somewhere a bit less explosive. For now, the cosmic cycle continues, indifferent to our presence, but beautiful in its chaos. We leave behind the heat and the pressure for the comfort of the familiar stars. Thank you for joining us on this perilous tour of the universe's most dangerous corners. Stay curious, stay safe, and always remember to bring your cardboard glasses. The stars continue to burn long after we have finished our story. Everything is as it should be in the vast reaching dark. Until the next journey into the unknown, keep looking up. Our cosmic death experiment is now complete. The universe remains silent and eternal. Every ending is merely a beginning in another form. Goodbye from the farthest reaches of space and time. The mission is accomplished. Rest now in the knowledge of the stars. This has been the final chapter of our terrifying cosmic tour.